This is Harold Allman from LinguaXDeo.com, coming to you live and in color from the outdoor studio of LinguaXDeo.com in Marshall, Texas. Actually, it's just a local strip shopping center, but just pretend. Back in the 1960s and 70s when I was trying to learn French, let me give you a context of what it was like. There were no cell phones, there was no internet. Everybody had a phone that they rented from the local phone company. My father was working in a factory and he didn't have a lot of money, so he was renting at first, and then he ended up buying a duplex house, and had 2 floors, and it was definitely affordable housing. It didn't have bricks, it didn't have wood, it had an exterior which kind of looked like it was the made of the same materials that you see on roofs, kind of like, I think it's called asphalt shingling, and it was made to look like bricks. So yeah, we had fake bricks on the outside of our house. It was very narrow, and even though it was affordable housing, he still couldn't afford the house. So what he did is he rented out the upper floor to a lady with 2 girls, and she was on receiving welfare from the government, and that provided income so that we could live in the house. There was one issue: there was no bathroom on the first floor. So at night, when I was a little boy, I had to go down to the basement. Yes, there were basements in Toronto, Canada, if I needed to go to the washroom. And of course there was this huge furnace with all of these tubes coming out of the top of it. It was just this monster. So it was really a scary thing for me to go down to the washroom, especially at night by myself. And that's the house that we grew up in. There was like, I think, 3 rooms: a kitchen, a living room, and a front room. So since there was no bedroom, what my parents did is they bought a Kohler Chesterfield, which could be folded out into a bed, and every morning they would fold it up, and that would become our living room. So we didn't have a lot of money back then. And then when I was 6 years old, my sister came along, and that was another mouth to feed for my parents. So what happened was, up to I think grade 5 or 6, we didn't even have any classes in any foreign languages. And then somebody got the great idea in the school system that it would be good to have people in Canada learn French or English. So they introduced French, I think, around grade 6 or 7, and I started taking French classes. So keep in mind that there's no internet back there, no cable, and we were just receiving TV signals over the air, and we had a black and white TV. So some of my friends later on, when I was in high school, they had a color TV, so they were more affluent than we were. We just had a black and white TV, but eventually we did get a color TV. So when I started taking French, we got professional teachers whose job it was to teach us the foreign language. And one of the first teachers I got was a lady with a French accent, so I don't know if she was from Quebec or from France, but she was a native speaker, so that was great. I moved on to high school. We got different teachers, and they were native English speakers. So they were using the grammar translation approach to learn French. So what happened was we got lessons 2 or 3 times a week using the grammar translation approach, and the books we were using had a lot of English in them. So we ended up studying grammar a lot and not actually learning the French language. So your environment now that you have the internet, it doesn't matter where you are at all. You've got tremendous access to foreign language resources through the internet, through YouTube and other sources. So you need to use those sources and try and stay away from courses and methods that use your native language. Because if you do that, what you're doing is you're just learning to translate from the foreign language into your native language. When you're learning the foreign language, you want to learn what the word means from the context or from things that exist, like arbor or whatever in the foreign language. You don't need to translate it into the foreign language, and you should try and avoid that. So you've got a lot of resources available now that the internet is available. Just try and start off easy. Use a gradual approach. Don't do the really hardcore courses first. And if you do try and advance too quickly, you're going to fail. But when that happens, you just need to back off and get some resources that are easier to study. And you want to gradually increase the complexity. It's kind of like going up a flight of stairs. You start at the bottom, and if you try and leap to the top, you know you're not going to make it. But if there's, I don't know how many stairs there are in the CN Tower, but there is a stairway in there for emergency escapes. You can get to the top by climbing that stairway. You'd probably be dead tired, but it's possible. I gotta recommend the Société Radio-Canada if you're trying to learn French, because if you go to their video site, you'll find news clips that are just 2 or 3 minutes long. They're really easy to digest. Some of them are interesting, and that's the great thing. You can pick content that's interesting. And that's the best way to learn a foreign language, is to find content that interests you. Motivation only goes so far, but if you can get an internet site that pulls you in because it gives you a dopamine fix, to say. I mean, you just see the title and the title interests you, that's great, because then you'll watch the clip and you may pick up some words. Also, if you're watching the SRC, you're going to get people who speak pretty much a standard French, but you're also going to be able to pick up the Quebec accent, which I really like, and I find it easier to understand because that's the version of French that I'm most familiar with. All right, that pretty much wraps it up for this video. If you like the video, please click on the subscribe button below. Take care. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, just about anybody can learn a foreign language.